Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am very excited because I finally got around to reading A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. This book was on one of my most anticipated reads for 2023. I had kind of a love-hate relationship with T. Kingfisher last year, so I was a little hesitant to pick up this book. For those of you guys who do not know, T. Kingfisher is a pen name, and she's an author who writes I believe a lot of fantasy when it's not under her pen name, but she started T. Kingfisher to write more horror. And she started off with The Twisted Ones and Hollow Places. I read Hollow Places first, and I loved it. I read Twisted Ones. Didn't love it as much, but I still thought it was really, really fun. T. Kingfisher's a very, very unique voice when she writes, and it's very much, I believe, how that author actually talks and acts. Like, you can really feel her own colloquialisms in there. But both Hollow Places and Twisted Ones were spins off of famous Gothic short stories. The Hollow Places was based on The Willows by Algernon Blackwood, and then the Twisted Ones was based off of The White People, and the author of that is going to escape me right now. It's like Arthur something, I don't remember. And then last year she did What Moves the Dead, which was a spin on Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher, which I was so excited for because I really loved her twisting of Arthur Machen, I think is his name. I really loved kind of her twisting and repurposing of these iconic Gothic stories into these full-length novels set primarily in the modern times. And what really didn't work for me with What Moves the Dead was she tried to rewrite The Fall of the House of Usher, but kept it in the same time period and kind of added all of this extra stuff, including mushroom horror. Sporer. There's a word for mushroom horror now. Sporer. I hate mushroom horror. But apart from the mushroom horror, the other thing that really didn't work for me was keeping it in that time period with this still kind of modern tone in how she writes and speaks. There was this kind of jarring disconnect. And then she kind of created this entire second, like, society with a whole background and history, but the novel was very, very short, almost a novella. So none of it was fleshed out, and it was very confusing, and it was a lot of information kind of thrown at me all at once. And I really, really didn't love that. I really didn't like it, to be perfectly honest. And it didn't add anything new or fresh or interesting to The Fall of the House of Usher, the way that something like Hollow Places did with The Willows, which was a really just amazing interpretation of that story. What Moves the Dead to me felt like a bad regurgitation. So I was really, really interested to see how T. Kingfisher would do when she was writing something completely original. So this is not based on a short story, to the best of my knowledge. And it is, like, I guess you could say a quasi, like, haunted house story. But I actually really, really enjoyed it. So I'm going to read the inside flap in case you guys don't know about this book. But it says, "Mom seems off." Her brother's words echo in Sam Montgomery's ear as she turns onto the quiet North Carolina street where their mother lives alone. She brushes the thought away as she climbs the front steps. Sam's excited for this rare extended visit, and looking forward to nights with just the two of them, drinking boxed wine, watching murder mystery shows, and guessing who the killer is long before the characters figure it out. But stepping inside, she quickly realizes home isn't what it used to be. Gone is the warm, cluttered charm her mom is known for. Now the walls are painted a sterile white. Her mom jumps at the smallest noises and looks over her shoulder, even when she's the only person in the room. And when Sam steps out back to clear her head, she finds a jar of teeth hidden beneath the magazine-worthy rose bushes, and vultures are circling the garden from above. To find out what's going on, her mom's so frightened in her own home, Sam will go digging for the truth, but some secrets are better left buried. I don't love the back of this book because I feel like it really led me to believe this book was something it's not. This is a really interesting book on a family relationship between mothers and daughters. I thought this was very, very, very well done. I loved the setting. It is definitely Southern Gothic horror. It is a lot of character development. I will say a lot of, like, the kind of eerie, spooky things are kind of alluded to or very passive at the very first half of the book, and then they kind of skyrocket into this crazy climax in the second. Almost to the point that it kind of feels like you're reading different books, except our character is such a strong narrative voice. And like I said, T. Kingfisher has a very distinct voice. It's very colloquial, it's very millennial, it's very cheeky, it's very funny. There's a lot of asides, a lot of breaking the fourth wall. There's so much breaking of the fourth wall in this book, and I actually really enjoyed it. It's something that I feel like in a larger capacity I might not have liked as much, because it did get a little tiresome as it went on, but it worked pretty nicely with this. Another thing that's really interesting about T. Kingfisher's writing is when she writes something, she really makes sure that she learns a lot about it, and she kind of nerds out in her novels. Like I said, What Moves the Dead, there's a lot of spore in it. There's so many mushrooms. So you get all this information on mushrooms. In this, you're going to learn a ton about vultures and a ton about entomology. I think that's how you pronounce it, the study of bugs, as well as archaeology, but more so about bugs in a non-creepy way, which was nice. Not many spiders. But this I thought was just really well done. I loved the familial relationship. I love how this time around T. Kingfisher really broke that habit that she has of her main character kind of befriending somebody and them like working together to sort the problem out. That seems to be a consistent thing that she does. This time, there's definitely side characters and friends who are helpful in what's going on, but it very much is true to form, our main character solving a mystery. It's definitely a mystery of what is going on. There's a lot of history into the occult in this book, which I thought was really, really cool, and I was really pleasantly surprised to find out most of the history, apart from the characters that were created for this book, is real. So this is a very, very knowledgeable book, and I like this. It says Southern Hospitality to Die For right here on the cover, and I think that that's an amazing way to summarize this. If you enjoyed Grady Hendrix's novel, A Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, I feel like you're really going to like this. It's not as scary as Southern Book Club, but it is definitely kind of witty and lighthearted and funny with these very, very scary elements. And I just, again, what really makes this novel shine is T. Kingfisher's voice. There's this whole, like, side story about how much the main character hates the color ecru, and I thought it was just hilarious, and it just keeps coming back up. I think at one point she refers to it as like the color you choose when you're not sure if you want to go with boring beige or like white. She goes, you end up with this, and it's just this like running thing throughout. And while I said the story is very subtle at first and like crazy climaxes, what I love about that is the climax doesn't really come out of nowhere. Like you kind of feel like it does at first when you read it. It's very jarring and it happens very suddenly, and there's two different layers to it. But once you understand what's happening, if you look back on the entire narrative prior, you see that a lot of this was alluded to. And so I loved that. I loved that we were kind of being lulled into submission, and then just like whacked over the head with this crazy, I don't want to say a twist, because I wouldn't call it a twist. It was just this like crazy occurrence that happens that really takes it from being kind of like a psychological suspense thriller into a true like horror narrative. And I loved the vultures. I thought the vultures were really, really interesting. I loved how they were used. I loved the omen that they served. And I loved all of the characters in the neighborhood in this house. So yeah, this was a 4-star read for me. I feel like it could have been a 5-star had it maybe cleaned up a few details. I feel like there was a couple instances, basically for me, like how certain characters were able to escape at the end. And I hope that's not really a spoiler, but to me there was like kind of a plot hole there. Like I didn't quite understand what was happening. And I had this issue in Briardark recently where like characters are in this kind of situation, in this kind of, it's almost the exact same, to be honest, this kind of weird area, and the way the area is described, you're not quite sure like how it functions, but the way that characters are able to get out of said area also doesn't really make sense. It isn't really explained very well in the novel. It's just kind of this like it happened moment. And so I brushed that off because this is me being really, really nitpicky, because that was just something that I was like confused about. And I just felt like it could have been written a little bit more clearly for me to actually understand exactly what happened. But I really love this. If you're looking for like a fun Southern Gothic read, definitely give this a try. I believe it takes place in like September, October, but it's definitely going to give more like spring, summer vibes, because there's a lot of gardens that are very prevalent. There's like a gardening war between the neighbors, which I thought was really funny. But I did really, really love this. This was a great book to like kick off spooky season for me. I'm one of those people who celebrates October, so it's been spooky season since pumpkin spice showed up at Dunkin' Donuts. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with how much I love this, and it put me right back on the T. Kingfisher fan club, because I was really disappointed in What Moves the Dead, and I know that book's getting a sequel, and I don't know why, because the Hollow Places should. But yeah, definitely give this book a try, especially if you didn't like What Moves the Dead, but you loved the Hollow Places. This feels way more like that. And the same way that Hollow Places was like very cosmic-y, this definitely has some like kind of, I don't want to say cosmic elements, but definitely some like high-level concept horror elements of something that I thought was really cool and original, and really, really fun with that, especially with how much is alluded to the occult. I thought it was really fun and really interesting. And you'll never look at roses the same way, or ladybugs the same way ever again. Anyways, that is all that I have for you guys today. As always, I try to post every Monday and Thursday, sometimes on Saturdays. And if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and I will catch you on the next one. Mwah!